There's not much to talk about, is there?
I don't know if that's the case.
Live from Studio K, here in downtown Phoenix. Welcome in to our first live PHNX Rising podcast of the 2026 season, if there's a season.
Oh,
So much to talk about.
but look who's not here.
Max is not here, of course. Welcome into Studio K, presented by Circle K. Remember to go sign up for the Inner Circle program. Download the Circle K app today. In terms of conditions apply, of course, at participating locations. See circlek.com for details. But we have got so much to talk about.
Yes.
So much to talk about. About 2 hours ago now, I was on the phone with USL Players Association Executive Director Connor Tobin, and we were speaking about the current Labour situation in USL Championship. About 5 minutes ago, we have just put that article live. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead, have a look at gophnx.com. It is there in full, but there is so much to talk about that we are going to spend, I think, a very large portion of this
Yes.
this podcast talking about it. Because, look, we can sit here and kind of paint the picture of what is Phoenix Rising looking for this weekend in San Antonio. We still don't fully know if there's going to be a game this weekend. And that is kind of where the headline is of the news from today. And it is breaking news now from the literally last 10 minutes if you're watching this live. We put this one out, and that is that when I spoke with Connor Tobin earlier today, he told us, specifically when I asked him if there was going to be a stoppage this weekend, he said everything's possible. All options are on the table, and refused to rule out the fact that the teams may not be playing this weekend with a potential work stoppage underway. To give you a little bit of background on this one, if you haven't been following it too intently, the issues going on here, the USL Championship's collective bargaining agreement expired earlier this off-season. No new deal has since been reached. Last week, the USLPA put forward what it said was the league's most recent proposal to its membership. 90% of the membership of USLPA rejected that. They also gave the bargaining committee effectively carte blanche to go ahead and do whatever they feel is necessary to advance their case. In this case, that includes strike authorization. So we're kind of going through this now, knowing that any given day, potentially, we could see a strike, we could see a lockout. I'm not sure a lockout would look great in the circumstances, but it is, far as I am aware, this is possible, as I've been informed. Yeah. I mean, there's so much to go into in this, isn't there, Rees?
It is really one of the most USL things ever. It's just the most chaos of all chaos. And then when you haven't had enough chaos, there's even more. I mean, listen, this is something that, like, as we've talked about, has been going on over the offseason. This isn't something that's just come out of the blue, but the USLPA statement really a few days ago, but also the one a week ago or so ago when they announced that they have authorized the strike, the 90% vote yes out of a 90% turnout, was something. And then the now with the statement that was released yesterday, that kind of infographic, which is an infographic I know you love, the breakdown of the club badge.
Yeah, but see, this had kind of meaning to it.
I know this one
it's
actually
not
had
like the
meaning.
kid explainers that I genuinely hate.
That statement is where I think, to me at least, it really began to feel real about this. This is more than just, a few players. This is something that is going to likely could likely happen. I mean, the league, the Players Association was not holding back things in that. I mean, they mentioned, about the health insurance, just the standard of living, the contracts. It was a lot that the USL Players Association is not happy about. And as Pat Moses mentions, the league best I can do is pro row. With those announcements, the Premier League or Premier Division getting mixed up there, announcements, it's only adding fuel to the fire.
Right. And I will say, look, as we begin to delve into this one, I'm going to say this up front. We reached out to USL League office for comments today. We've done so actually twice during the course of the day. Once about 6 hours ago now, actually probably longer than that, probably about 7 hours ago. We first reached out to them. We also reached out to them just after the interview with the USLPA executive director took place. We have yet to hear back from the USL League office. So at this point, we are going purely off of the public statements that they have put out so far. If USL League office does come back with more information and their side of things in this, we will obviously include that in an updated article at gophnx.com. But for now, we're going with what we have. The league are not communicating on this one, and so that's where we are right now. In terms of some of the things that was said in today's interview, we'll just kind of run through here. Again, as I said earlier, all options are on the table. Everything's possible regarding a potential work stoppage. Even as soon as this weekend. There is a mediation session scheduled between the league and the Players Association for tomorrow. At the moment, that is the only session that they currently have on the calendar for this week, although more may be added later. If we're going to look at what the timeline for the league season kicking off, Friday night is the season opener. It's Lexington and Louisville playing each other. Rising season set to begin on Saturday in San Antonio. And yet again, we are in a position whereby we don't know if these games are going to go ahead. They may go ahead. We may have a work stoppage later in the year. It's difficult to say. Again, some of the comments here from the USLPA executive director, Connor Tobin, saying that we're over 550 days into trying to bargain the successor agreement, and the distance between the parties is still pretty significant. So that's frustrating. He was very frustrated, is I guess the way I would best describe how it was listening to him. And there are a lot of pieces to this, right? There is insurance, there is compensation, there is the buyout side of things. There are, I think, deeper issues playing into this one as well that aren't fully explored in the article that's been posted. Again, given the time scales here, it's been kept relatively brief in terms of things specifically relating to some of the more tangible things that need to be addressed in this particular collective bargaining agreement. But he also went into detail about some of the issues with the league structure, who profits from the league. And these are all important things that do matter going into the weekend. Now, Rees, I'm just going to say, I mean, you read the kind of the full thing of the interview here with the USLPA executive director. What is your biggest takes, the first things you're taking away from it in terms of things that he said regarding the current negotiations?
I think obviously outside of the obvious that you've mentioned, we've gone over about how everything's possible regarding the work stoppage. I think the main thing that continues to stand out to me within these negotiations has been the USLPA and the USL's battle over health insurance within this league. The USL had not within this article, not within the interview with Connor Tobin, but they posted within that infographic about how some of the players in this league have a $10,000 deductible on their health insurance. And obviously Tobin did mention that there are some teams that provide full coverage, but I think when you play a sport, any sport, doesn't matter, and you're on the verge of not being the highest of high leagues, but there are guys from the USL that are going to be playing in the World Cup from one way or another, whether it's like a Gerald Margarita with Curacao, or there's going to be guys that have played within the USL over the last couple of years that are going to be on the highest stage of the sport. And they aren't going to have like fully covered health insurance. And like, this is something we've heard about for years being an issue. And like, it's just amazing to me in the worst way possible that, you know, you're not getting paid a lot of money and then you have to pay out of pocket for a good chunk of the injury costs, which it's bizarre to me.
It is. I mean, look, one of the things that really, really stood out to me, I think, during the course of this was just that, you know, I mean, you listen to the description of some of these, there are players in this league on food stamps. Yeah. Food stamps. Playing professional football.
Exactly. And
what?
This is supposed to be a league that is founding a tier 1 league in the next 2 years. This is just, it represents every issue within USL. And it's why it's part of the reason why, like, when USL makes an announcement regarding an expansion, regarding, you know, the change in league structure, I'm so skeptical about it. Because there's just so much wrong in the foundation of the league.
There is. And I think some of it as well just comes from, and this is, I will give a shout out to John Morrissey here, he's USL Tactics on Twitter for those of you who know him in that way, who put out an article on Backheeled last week, I believe, talking about the structure of USL and where there are issues with that one. I do think that a large part of it is just because there's such an incentive from the league office to just purely pile teams in, to get teams in, get them pay an expansion fee, and not really a great deal of interest in how that translates into, you know, bigger growth. Everything seems like it's the next big idea with the league. It's all the next big idea, be it a new expansion team, be it a new Division 1 league, be it the way they expanded onto the women's side. Everything is one big new idea, you know, some kind of new big gimmick that if it was done correctly wouldn't be a gimmick. When I say it that way, that's not the reality of, if you want to launch a Division 1 league and do it properly, fine. That's not a... But it's the way that it feels. I mean, I've had this conversation before. I remember about a year ago going and speaking at a journalism class and being asked a few things about, like, oh, do you think USL's really going to do this? Do you think USL's really going to do that? And the main thing that came out from me in those is just, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes.
And that's just such a common theme with USL. Everything is I'll believe it when I see it, because I've seen so many times this league do things that promise and never fully deliver. Mm-hmm. How many teams have we heard, expansion teams, that just never get off the ground?
I don't even know the count anymore.
It's too many. It's way too many. It's insane. Yeah, I thought we were all going down to Louisiana, weren't we, on a trip at some point?
We have a great time. Oh, we'll have Santa Barbara Sky this year.
Like, Santa Barbara Sky.
That'd be a lovely away day if it ever happens.
It'd be a great away day if it ever happens, I guess. And even beyond that, I mean, we can look at, the league was going to launch a Division 1 women's league. They have. It's Division 1 in name only. Let's be clear.
Yes.
Let's be clear on that one. The standard of play is not up to NWSL. It's not considered such. It's a purely an administrative designation. If they were truly being treated as a Division 1 league, why aren't they being invited to CONCACAF competitions?
And also,
they're a Division 1 league. They should be.
When USL Super League was announced, remember how many clubs were announced?
Yeah,
Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix is going to have a team.
Where
that
hasn't
happened?
Where?
Are they ever going to? I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? And that's so much of this. When I hear then promotion relegations coming, I hear Division 1 league, I hear all these things, I look at it incredibly skeptically. I have seen too many times the league office overpromise and underdeliver. And that's something that's a real issue. Now, there was a quote in here that did not make the final cut of this article for this one, but I think it is worth us discussing. Let me just pull this quote up, and it's talking about whether this league really is sustainable, right? And it depends in a lot of ways how you define sustainability. This is what Connor Tobin said. It was, we're having 20 plus clubs fold over the last 10 years. Is it sustainable for clubs? I don't think so. And for the players underneath, they have contracts pulled out from underneath them. Is this sustainable for them? Very clearly not so. When we talk about sustainability, I think it's very important to talk about sustainability for who and for how many people. I would argue from my position that I don't think this is very sustainable for anyone outside of the league office and league ownership.
I agree. And it's one of those things where, like, this was kind of one of the points we raised during the whole promotion relegation. And I think it trickles down to this as well, is that, like, the revenue sharing, the expansion fees, like, it's not spread equally like we see in some of these other leagues. And I think because of that, that's why we have so many issues down to, like, what was it? Tobin said, I think 7 teams didn't have, like, full health insurance for the players. And, like, you spread that equally, maybe it's not 7, but maybe it's only 3, you know, it's obviously not 0, but still, I think it's one of those things where, like, the issue starts at the top, and I don't think it's a club by club issue. It's really, I think it starts at the league office.
It's such a complex one, isn't it, in that sense? Like, I mean, look, it's one of those things whereby how are you ever going to make these clubs sustainable when they don't have access to TV revenues and they don't have access to expansion fees and they don't have all of these things? Just make clubs more sustainable. They're putting money into the lower divisions in a way that allows some of these clubs to at least prop themselves up in some ways. I mean, when you exist purely to extract profit, and ultimately, right, New York Soccer Holdings, that's what they do. They exist there primarily to extract profit from USL.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, it's not a very nice thing to describe a group of people. It's parasitic.
Yeah.
It is parasitic to USL, to the lower division footballing just sphere in this country. How are you meant to make money? How are you meant to provide a sustainable club structure when you don't have access to more things to grow? And so what are they going to do? They're going to do USL Premier? And these clubs, again, won't have those revenue streams, but they'll magically be able to have higher standards, put together a real Division 1 league. Don't make me laugh.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
And I think that's another thing, like, you know, with so many questions surrounding the sustainability of the clubs, how sustainable can the league truly be if the clubs aren't prospering? You know, because if you're having so many clubs die, you're having so many clubs in the red.
As long as people are willing to chuck expansion fees, the league's fine.
Well, I mean, that's got to dry up sooner rather than later.
I don't know.
I just...
Will it? I mean, that's the question.
All right. I mean, there's always going to be a dumb billionaire somewhere that's willing to spend money.
But the thing is, not necessarily... Look, there's a lot of big money kind of people, sure. But you're not necessarily talking the scale of MLS, are we? That's the thing. If we're talking about expansion fees are a much more modest sum in USL Championship compared to what you're paying for MLS, right? It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. You don't get that from nowhere. But it doesn't just come, you know, in at such a high number that there are not going to be people who are going to be able to pay that.
Yeah.
Whether they want to or not is the question.
If the expansion fees were what they were at MLS, we'd be sitting on gold-plated chairs at Phoenix Rising Stadium.
I don't think we would be. As opposed to that one wonky fence that you kind of like just push it. It's like, oh, it might fall this time.
Yeah, the fence would be stable.
Yeah.
See, luxury.
There we are. Very much luxurious. Look, there are some sticking points here. I think one thing that is important to note, I don't believe we have so far, and this is actually a pretty key thing that was brought up in the course of the conversation with Connor Tobin earlier today, is that because USLPA is affiliated through the Communications Workers of America Union, they have access to the CWA's strike fund, which is a very large sum of money. And so there is some financial support there to sustain players if they were to go out on strike. I think that's a critical thing. I just feel as though a lot of our discussions over the past, you know, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, months have been, in part, can players afford to go on strike, especially as the lower end. We can't, on the one hand, have the discussion of, oh, you've got guys on food stamps. Oh, we got guys whose deductible is over a quarter of their wage on their health insurance. and not have that conversation of can these guys even afford to go out on strike?
Yeah.
But if there is financial backing there, I think it definitely makes it far more feasible that they could walk out on strike.
Absolutely, because that was one of the biggest things that was in my mind about whether or not the players would be able to go on strike, just because even before we knew about the deductible issues, then we knew the range of salaries. We knew what a large portion of these guys are getting paid. And would you be able to surrender that for a month, maybe even longer, maybe less, depending on how it goes, of course. But still, the fact that it's there, it shows that I think everyone in this is kind of bought into it. You know, they have the tools.
They do.
As Tobin said, everything's possible about it coming sooner rather than later. So
I just got a sense of frustration from that conversation, and it was frustration with just a complete unwillingness to really grapple with the issues that are going on here, right, from the league side. It was a sense of frustration that ultimately, you're gonna have to do something because the league just isn't gonna budge. And I do see in part what I'm looking at the chat here for for the amount of guys that never play again post USL season, do they even risk that chance? Is what Pat Moses says. I mean, it's one of those things whereby at the same time, if the players don't actually stand up to an extent for themselves in moments like this, if they don't say that they're going to actually follow through with some of these things, what's going to happen? The union can't be shown to be so toothless as to not take that step. Because if you show that, then, down the line, every single negotiation they have, be it League One, be it USL Premier, be it a future USL Championship CBA agreement, what leverage does the union have at that point? They need to show themselves to be sure. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they go out on strike. It could be that they get a concession from the league and go, okay, we're willing to work with this. Right? But by their own admission, and by Tobin's admission here, in the last CBA, they understood that the economics of the clubs weren't great. It was signed very much the tail end of COVID, which does obviously have an impact on these clubs. They rely a lot on money coming in from matchday revenues. You can't just assume that, ultimately, that position is what it is now. It's not the case. And so they made a lot of concessions before. They can't really afford to do it again because they do need to make progress on some of these key issues. I mean, one of the things that came up as well, we've heard a lot about buyouts in terms of the ability for clubs to buy out players at a percentage of their salary. Someone described it as pennies on the dollar, which it is a higher percentage than just like getting that per se, but it's well, I mean, technically anything under the dollar is pennies on the dollar. We have to look at this and say, well, are these things that make the league attractive? If you want the league to genuinely continue to grow, to attract players from overseas, to become a destination place, you can't then turn around and say, well, contracts aren't guaranteed, really.
Yeah.
You can't do that because at that point, what's attractive? You're not guaranteeing contracts. No money written in there really means anything. I mean, it got the most inflammatory comment I think I heard from something the whole time. He said it makes the league look Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And I can't really disagree.
I mean, it's just... I don't even know what to add to it because it's just one of those things where it's just... I think if you had heard of a business being run like this, that wasn't a sports league, just like, I don't know, finance business, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an industry. You'd look at it as absolutely absurd from the outside. And I think that's the way everyone needs to start to look at this.
It is... Well, it's just... And now this is where I'm going to go on this one. It is sad, right?
Yeah.
This is, and this is I'm not even saying this is sad from a human element with the people that are impacted by this. It is very sad with that, right? When you've got people who can't get health insurance through their employer playing football. I mean, what is this? Like a Parks League? Are we being real about this?
This is Max Simpson Sunday League.
Like, are we? What are we doing here? What are we doing here, right? And it's terrible for those people and the people getting paid awful wages. People who are having to rely on food stamps because they're playing professional football and aren't getting paid enough. That they don't qualify for those things. That's awful. There's a genuine like. I mean, we even look at just like the precarity of employment, not just even with the buyouts, but with the fact that clubs fold or choose not to field teams. North Carolina, you look at South Georgia. You're 2 weeks out from the season, you announce, yeah, we're not going to play because they couldn't afford to pay the workman's comp insurance. What are we doing? Like, you've made people relocate across the country, in some cases internationally. And then tell them 2 weeks out from the season, oh, by the way, your club's gone. What are we doing? How can we honestly sit here and say that this is the sign of a league on the up?
Yeah.
How can we sit here and say, I've heard, how many people have heard, oh, you know what, the World Cup is going to be a big difference maker. It's going to be huge. We are going into the season of that World Cup year with all of this nonsense flying around. But beyond that, you also have to look at it and say, well, I don't really believe it is going to make that kind of a... You can't even afford to pay guys enough already that they're not on food stamps. What difference is the World Cup going to make to that?
I think when it's all said and done, regardless of how this ends or not really more so for the World Cup, I mean, the way that the USL has capitalized or really hasn't capitalized on that is something like in the build up to this, in the build up to 2026. How many expansion sites were announced for 2026? How many things were announced for 2026?
There's always way too many.
We're gonna do this.
There's always way too many.
When the World Cup comes on, the USL is gonna be the big thing. And will it? No, it won't be. No. It won't be anywhere close.
It's the week building up to the season. This is our main pod. We had such a this idea that we were going to, preview the big game. We could look in detail at players for Rising, players for San Antonio. We are halfway through this pod already. We haven't even touched on the game that Rising's going to play. Okay?
What game?
I mean, that Rising may play.
Yeah.
We are sitting here talking about labor relations. Like, how can we sit here and pretend this league is growing? That when we need to...
But they got the CBS deal.
Yeah, I'm sure. What games they going to put on that CBS deal right
Great
now?
question.
What's...
Well, I mean, we all know where the money's going, too, so it's not like it matters to most people there. It's just such a fundamental failure from the league office in every aspect of it. And unfortunately, the biggest effects of it are felt at the bottom from the players that, don't have quality health insurance, don't have a solid income. I mean, to tie it back to like what Pa-Modou Kah said in his article with you, I mean, you get into the game because you love the game. You and then you try and eventually provide for your family. And then when things like this happen, when you have all these like the health insurance aspect, the low pay, the buyouts with pennies getting sent to the player, it strips away what was meant to be a child's game at the end of the day.
I tell you what also just feels so surreal. It is, and this is a large part of why I wanted us to focus on this off the bat today. It feels surreal to me looking at things like the league website pumping out, previews and all of that of teams and tactics. Again, we're talking here about raising wages for players on food stamps. And we're talking tactics. We're talking about tactics. We're talking about new signings. We're talking about players who, you know, there are players who don't have health insurance. There are players who are, you know, have health insurance where their deductible is over a quarter of their wage.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think the thing that, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, just continues to stick in my mind is that the health insurance for these players. Like, you're going to get hurt playing this sport. There's no way about it. You're going to, it might not be the largest of injuries, but you're pretty much guaranteed an injury. As grim as that sounds, you're going to get hurt one way or another. And it's 99.99% of the time, it's not going to be the player's fault. And then you're just not going to cover it when they're doing a job for you. I don't understand that. I don't understand it.
So much of this is just, it doesn't make sense. Well, it does though, because again, you have to go into just the background of this, where the league office comes from, what the league office's interests are versus what the team's interests are versus what the players' interests are, and it's all such a mess. I mean, you know what? We haven't thrown to him all day. We got Damon behind the mic. Damon, hello. How are we doing?
What's up, Owen?
I'm intrigued. Now, look, you are not as big into this as we are, and the pure, I think, just frustration.
I don't know the nitty gritty of USL for sure, like you guys.
How are you just listening to some of this? I'm just intrigued what your reaction is.
I mean, it just sounds like more classic USL BS, you know, where it's just very it's like a league that is almost kind of scrapping, it feels like, for a little bit of more relevancy, you know, with its competition. And so it just feels like they're trying to cut corners constantly and whatnot.
I think the thing about it that also gets to me on this is there are clubs that, you know, will you know, we say 7 clubs, right?
Yeah.
Don't know. The other side to that one, and again, Tobin said this one, is that, you know, there are clubs where they have great health insurance.
Yeah.
They cover everything. They can put dependents on there. And the other part to it is you can't even use that as though, oh, well, players will choose to go to those clubs, because those clubs can then deal you off somewhere else.
Yeah, because
you can get sent from a club that has that great health insurance to a club that has no health insurance, and you don't get a say in that. You just get moved.
But there's the relocation fee that's like $4,000, I think I was reading. But still, isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? But I think, again, to really put in the 7 in perspective, that would be almost a full conference playoffs. You know, you just have one extra team. That, because I don't even know what to say about it anymore.
It does feel like we're kind of hitting like a point on this one. And look, right, we won't talk too much longer on the agreement. We've already spent over half the episode on this, and I think it's right that we did.
Yeah,
because I do think that, again, if we sit here and talk tactics and don't address this, we are ignoring the elephant in the room. We can't sit here and do some big season preview and just be like, I hope the players sort things out. Because that's not, you know, it's ignoring the elephant in the room. It's not doing, I think, it's doing a disservice to the fans. Like, you can't just, when I see the league doing it's like business as usual kind of, we got a couple of days ago, we got something of a broadcast schedule for the week 1.
I didn't even notice that.
I mean, they've announced some games on like ESPN Plus and
I did see
Galazzo,
that.
right? We don't even know what the national games are this year. Like, they haven't announced this stuff. And why? Because they can't. Because they don't. Everything feels like it's lurching from. This is the professional entity at the league office.
Yeah.
That is extracting money from the game. The same one that couldn't tell us 3 years ago a particular hosting scenario because they didn't know during the middle of the playoffs what a potential hosting scenario would be as they were working through their own
I would have
rules
loved
of
to see
competition.
how they would have reacted to that.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have because Rising did actually win the league.
I
that
know,
year, and
but,
it
like-
involved teams that weren't Phoenix Rising.
I think for the love of chaos, I wish we got to see that.
That's a very Rees kind of opinion. Look, we have spent, it says 35 minutes at the top of the screen I'm looking at right there talking about this.
Oh, you can read.
Thank you, Rees. I think we're gonna leave. I think we're gonna leave it there for now because we could talk more about it, but it's just a pure sense of frustration, right? In so many ways, because it's just nuts. It's nuts. We shouldn't, I think, be in this situation. The players do deserve better than what many of them are given. I think it's going to take those players standing up and saying, you know, that's it, I've had enough, to actually see progress made. I mean, to the question there from Maddie's on health insurance situation at Rising, I'm not entirely certain of the health insurance situation at Rising. I don't believe they are one of the worst clubs. I'm going to put it that way. Okay?
Yeah.
But I will emphasize that I do not know the full details of the health insurance situation there. But it also then is incumbent, and I'll say this, on those clubs to raise the standards themselves.
Yeah.
They need to make a decision. If you are a club that is a better place club, you do need to ultimately make the decision to use your influence in that league to force others to raise the standards, because if you don't, you are going to suffer as well. You don't get a free pass on this if the players walk out because of things going on in other clubs. You need to actually fight on this one. Right, when we come out the other side of the break, we will talk a bit about this upcoming game. Phoenix Rising against San Antonio FC. If it happens, of course, we'll talk about it then. But first, let's have a little chat about our friends at Circle K, huh?
I missed it.
I mean, Max isn't here, and I know
that.
that Max would love to talk about Circle K here. And you signed up for the Inner Circle program there, Rees?
Of course I am.
Of course he has. Of course. Why wouldn't you have signed up for Circle K's Inner Circle rewards? Now, Rees, I also know on this one, you love a good meal deal, don't you, from Circle K? Especially the hot dog one. Big fan of that, yeah?
Sure, yeah. I love the Polar Pop and the chips.
He does love the Polar Pop and the chips. $3, by the way, for that. And a hot dog, which I know, again, Rees loves a good hot dog, don't you?
I'd go for other things there.
All of the
'cause
kinds
I've
of
got so
deals
much.
as well. Just go ahead. Sign up for the Inner Circle. You get discounts on gas, and they quite high at first. And then you do scale up with time as well, getting better discounts on your gas. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Now, you do have as well, you gotta check your account, don't you?
I do.
Of course you do. Everyone needs one. You can get the account with built-in benefits. Go over to Mountain America Credit Union. Their MyStyle checking account has perks just for you, including things like restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and more. Those travel discounts might come in helpful if there is a season. If there are road games to go to this season. Make MyStyle your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/MyStyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration or activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Right then, Rees.
Football?
We got to talk about football?
Maybe. If
Not
it
the stuff
happens.
off the field? I love how it's just had Rising is back along the bottom there for like the whole time as we're talking about how Rising may not be back.
Yeah.
They've been in preseason, they've been in training. You want to start talking about it from San Antonio's side? What you expect?
Yeah. Again, we'll caveat with the if it happens.
It happens.
If
If it happens, I'll be there, by the way. So
we could, we'll see basically Rising's home kit no matter what each team's wearing. San Antonio, we spoke about that quite in depth before, have that almost exact same shirt, but they also have a more familiar face that isn't just the shirt. Emi Cuejo's there, former Rising guy. Who knows how he'll play or where he'll play or really any of it. If he'll play, given that, who knows the game. But I think one thing though with San Antonio on the game, if it does play, is their back line was really good last year to open the year. The injuries hit them hard. When Rising beat them away last year, it was really it could have been a staple win because of how good San Antonio were at the time. Alex Crognali, Mitch
that was Rising's
Steenter.
first win of the season, wasn't it?
I think it was, because it was the week after that Monterey Bay game that was just an absolute disaster of all disasters.
It was, to be clear.
And John Morsey at Backheel wrote this. He kind of expects a back three. I wouldn't be surprised just because of the amount of center back depth that they do have there. So I think that it's going to be probably an early test for Rising's attack to see how they can break down a team that plays with an extra defender, but also plays with an extra defender of quality like San Antonio has.
Yeah, no, it's true. Now, the thing about it, we look at this game here. Some of the comments from at training today, Pa-Modou Kah, the Rising's coach, from Patrick Rakowski, the goalkeeper, saying that they kind of expect a good degree of continuity from this San Antonio side. You look at just again the returners; it's guys that you know. Emil Cuejo, of course, a familiar face on the other side. Former Rising player, and former San Antonio player actually, who's now gone back to San Antonio. We'll see. So we've seen close to 20 of us going, says Amanda Wilson, by the way. So, wow, love Rising fans going there.
Well,
That's
I hope you enjoy.
It's going to be a
days
disappointing
in San
weekend.
Antonio.
Also, shout out Erica in the chat. Don't we just love not having collective bargaining agreements? Erica,
something about those leagues played over summer, huh?
Yeah, it just doesn't end well, does it, for anybody? Any thoughts on it from Rising's perspective, right? As we look into this game, I will say one thing that was intriguing: Calvin Arase on a training pitch.
Oh, that's something.
I'm not sure I'm gonna say this is a guy who's ready to go. In any time soon, but at the same time, are we finally gonna maybe see him?
I'd like to see it at some point because, again, I think it's 78 minutes he's played in a Rising shirt.
I asked Para about how is his recovery going, and he just really jokes with it like, who?
Oh god,
that's how much Kelvin that we've seen since he arrived last summer, and pretty much got injured straight away, and was injured at the start of this preseason as well.
That's
it's going to be interesting. I tell you what, and this is another one now from Rising's perspective. It's the new role for JP Skiers.
Yes,
we saw
that's
it.
What I was going to mention.
We've seen it throughout preseason. Is JP Skiers getting a lot higher up the field? He's involving himself in the press. That is by design in this one. How do we feel about that?
I think my skepticism around it was very high. If you listen to last week's episode, and probably the first one as well, if we spoke about it then. I think, though, as time's gone on, as I kind of saw that game last week, which, again, preseason friendly, the worst type of football you can ever watch.
Miserable.
No
one loves a good preseason friendly, do they?
No, you're nuts if you do. It was. I think this was probably one of the better showings we've seen out of, again, a small sample size in meaningless matches. But I think we saw more of what he can bring in this role that's more of a box-to-box midfielder. And I'll have to see it against a proper side first because, again, that was a Spokane Velocity team that looked way out of their depth in that game. That was only 4 days ago? Feels like a month ago, I feel like, after how these last couple days have been. But
telling me.
I think this is another thing that I'd like to talk about with the midfield is I feel like it really does Hope Avievu a disservice because it pushes him out to be in that left channel, and I think he is far and away the better when he's behind the striker. playing as like more of an old school 10. When we saw him out on the wing last year, it wasn't his best performances. And I know, again, Hope Avia, we've spoken about him a bit about how he capitalizes on moments, but like you look at the full performance, it's not great. But I think that putting him to operate in the left channel is not getting the best out of him. It won't get the best out of him, rather.
It's fair. I think, again, just going back to Skiers in this one, I do think there is you have to consider the fact that if you play him that little bit deeper, he's never really going to be that link between the defense and the midfield, is he? Right? In a way that Jean-Eric Moussu probably can be.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's someone who is more liable to playing the progressive pass or making the dribble himself when he gains possession of the ball. Moussu, that is, not Skiers. I do think that Skiers is someone who brings a lot on the press.
Yeah.
Now, the other part to that, and this is really the question that I have here, you're going to say Moussu obviously is in the squad.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be in our lineup if he's fit. If we're saying that JP Skiers is in there,
yeah,
and you're playing with a midfield trio, is it Hope Aveyevu? Is it Diego Gomez? I mean, this team has just signed a guy who,
I know,
on paper, I mean, they didn't even think was attainable for them. And we're talking about him potentially not starting, even if he's fit.
I think with Gomez we don't know what he'll be at this level, and that's like where my biggest question around him comes from. I need to see more of him, and that's not really a knock on him. It's more of a knock on preseason football. Another one, if you're counting.
Rees is not a fan of preseason football. Did you know?
I think, I mean, if he can take over that creative role that Hope is kind of being assigned to, I'd be more than for it, because I mean he's a high caliber of player that, again, has a cap for Mexico. But I don't know. It's difficult to say, because like I feel like going off shirt numbers, he's a number 8, so he should be playing that JP Skiers role. But if anything Rising has taught us about shirt numbers is that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I know you're not a big fan of that number 14 in goal, are you?
Just because of his number, no other reason.
Yeah, it's specifically the number 14 you don't like in a goalkeeper. It's nothing about Odunze as a person or as a goalkeeper. That's an interesting one, actually. Odunze or Rakovsky for the opener, because here's something that Patrick said to us today. It's a bit different, it feels, this season, right? In prior years, the goalkeepers, he thought there was some similarity between the goalkeepers in terms of they weren't necessarily these huge guys. They were guys who could play the ball a bit with their feet. To differing scales, obviously, but that was kind of the comparison there. And then this year is different. You have a big goalkeeper in Odunze.
Yeah, and I think my one knock on Odunze is, from the, again, very limited preseason we've seen, is that he seems a little bit, I don't know the quite right word to use here, but doesn't seem quite confident playing the ball at his feet compared to Rakovsky. And I think that could be like an experience thing. I don't know what it could be. So if you want to play the ball more, I think you'd go with Rakovsky. But I think the way I like a goalkeeper, it's hard not to pick a guy that's 6'7". And I'm not even trying to make the joke.
You're making the joke there, aren't you?
When you're that
Rees,
tall.
You know you want to do it.
I want to, but I'm not going
he's grown up. Would you believe he's
no,
grown up?
No, it's just because Max
Damon, he's grown up.
So Owen learned to read this offseason and screw up. Wow.
What did Max do?
It's like I'm not even listening to the
He
same
went on
podcast.
vacation. He's still on vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, Max Simpson and vacations goes together like USL and not having a collective bargaining agreement at the moment this year. I immediately go back to the standard topic we were talking about earlier. Look, what else? Anything else of note really going into this game, you think, from a footballing perspective?
From a footballing perspective, I'm glad you made that caveat.
I mean, what else?
I'm intrigued to see how Rising's front three works.
That is a question. I will say on this one, actually, we haven't seen in the last game Juan Carvajal and Gunnar Studenhoft did not play in the last game. That was because of they were just precautionary. Just wanted to make sure that they were okay fitness wise. But it did also mean that Tony Capetillo started up top.
Yeah.
And he was actually cited by Patrick Krakowski as one of the players that's really impressed him this preseason. And Pa said similarly that he'd shown a good degree of professionalism, determination, and that when he was playing in one of the academy events, more relatively recently, he'd shown himself off as kind of like a step above.
Yeah.
And so there is a real. I'm intrigued to see if we see him playing in the early part of the season.
I agree,
especially if there are absences due to injury in that position.
I was very impressed by him because correct me if I'm wrong, he just recently turned 16. Was he 15 in the shootout or
he was 15? So he made his debut last year in the Jägermeister Cup.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, has a new sponsor now. It's the Prinks Tires Cup this season.
What's it called?
The Prinks Tires Cup.
It's like
to be frank,
the Carabao Cup, but for the USL.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about sponsors that aren't USL sponsors.
That's going to take a little bit of getting used to, fellas. So you guys might need to really hammer that one home because I'm so used to the Jägermeister Cup.
It was because it was the Jägermeister Cup.
I was so used to the Jägermeister Cup.
I know you were.
That I'm going to say Jägermeister Cup so much moving forward. I'm going to need you guys to really hammer home the
Prinks Tires?
The cup formerly known as the Jägermeister Cup.
Understood. Gotcha.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we're looking for. He came on late in the game against El Paso. Did make a penalty. He was asked to take a penalty in the shootout. It was a sudden death penalty, and he made it. So, fair play to the kid. That's
it is, but it was also for every other player that took one, it's the most meaningless penalty.
While that is entirely true, very different if you're a child making your debut in a professional game.
I was also very impressed with him in the Spokane Velocity friendly. He was very fluid in that striker position. We saw him drop way deep to assist build up. We saw him drift out wide. It felt like a very, very mature performance, but also one where it's like the mental aspect of it, like positioning wise, was mature, but also like he never really looked out of place physically. It's not like he was getting pushed off the ball by a midfielder when he had to drop deep or anything like that. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm taking something positive out of preseason football. Can you believe it?
It's shocking. That's shocking. Right. You know what we have to do here? We're coming towards a close. You know what we got to do, Rees?
Score prediction.
In a world where the game actually takes place.
See, should we should we predict that too?
What odds are you giving it?
I don't know.
Give me a percentage.
Flip a coin.
Flip a coin. That's not positive. I really don't know. I think, again, I said this earlier on. There is a mediation session scheduled tomorrow between the Players Association and the league office. I think that may determine some of this. I think if it goes very badly, I could see a feeling from the players that maybe they do want to walk. I don't know, but we'll see. That's out of the control of us. It's out of the control of many people as individuals, and it's purely down to the representatives of both sides come out with at this point. So, score then. Go on. I see we got some already coming in the chat. But
yeah,
Rees,
I'm going to copy BJ's. 1-1, very ugly. There's only one thing, or sorry, in the tiers of ugliness in this sport, the thing right above preseason football is the first game of the season. That's what I'm expecting.
Correct. Difficult.
Yeah.
We're going to go 2-2.
2-2. Last time Rising opened a season in San Antonio, it was a 3-3 draw.
High scorers.
Yeah.
High scorers. You're right. And that was actually a very good season for...
just a little bit.
Absolutely. Just a little bit for Phoenix Rising that year. Even though they were disappointing in the playoffs, they did go ahead. And what did they do that year?
Lost to Real Monarchs.
No. But during the season.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were talking about busing. 20 games.
So who scored that day? This really dates it.
They had 2 penalties. I know this because the reason I know this is because Rising have had 3 separate times in their history that their first 2 penalties of the season have come in a 3-3 draw.
which is nuts.
It's bizarre.
Utterly bizarre. Happened in Monterey Bay, didn't it?
Yeah.
In 2022.
And Tulsa was the other one.
Tulsa in 24.
Yeah.
Crazy. Utterly crazy. It was Noah Sante didn't get a goal in that one.
Wow.
It was actually Junior Flemings, Adam John, and Jason Johnson.
Wow.
There you go. Adam John also scored no goal as well, though. So
Brilliant.
And who else scored for?
Oh gosh.
I know. Goals for San Antonio coming from Guzman and Billy Forbes.
I'm scared. Didn't expect the Billy Forbes reference on this podcast. But
There
here
we go.
are.
We got a Billy Forbes reference in this podcast. Right, I think that draws us to about our conclusion, doesn't it?
I think so.
I think we're going in now. Now, by the way, there are some ways if you'd like to support us here on the pod and at PHNX. You can sign up to become a supporter on YouTube, which something I know has been going on for a little bit now. Obviously, we haven't really had a chance to talk about it, being that we haven't been going, but we are here now. The season is hopefully coming.
If we get enough Supporters Club members that are here in the Rising chat, we can start adding some custom emojis. That feels like something that the Rising chat in particular would want to get in on. I think we could make some pretty embarrassing Max custom emojis.
I didn't even think about it like that.
That we can have people spam in the chat.
That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah. We could make like a spinach pizza one maybe.
Oh, half spinach.
no,
half
shrimp-
spinach. Come on, guys.
Shrimp
Of course,
pizza.
of
Shrimp
course.
pizza, though. You know, shrimp. He is Max Shrimpy Shrimp Simpson.
Of course.
I feel like that maybe.
Maybe
we can always leave that up to you guys to decide, though.
Maybe a Mr. Vacations one would go pretty hard.
Him
100%.
handing a beer to people because Max is buying beer.
Max is
Max is
always
buying
buying beers.
beers.
You can sign up on a YouTube channel for $5 a month. Reese puking a hot dog, says Pat Moses. How do you feel about that one, Reese?
No comment.
Yeah,
No
we
comment.
should get some hot dog emojis going in the chat.
I'm going on
too.
strike.
Think of it a fun way to support PHNX. It's not a paywall or essential content, but there, it does show you support, especially if you're already someone who sends us super chats. Right, that's about drawing us to a close now. We will have, I'm sure, more updates over the coming days, potentially weeks, potentially months, on the things that are going on in this league in terms of the CBA, but also in terms of just standard footballing updates, as long as there's football going on the field. And make sure to follow us. I'm at OJ Evans 18. Reese, you are at
Rees Goodall.
He has changed it now. He's just at Rees.
That's another
Goodall.
thing that's changed over the offseason.
Damon. You still Damon Dog, yeah?
Of course,
There
brother.
we
I
go.
always will be.
Oh,
That's
he
beautiful.
never will change it. He is nothing if not consistent, much like Max is nothing if not consistent as he's out on vacation. You can follow the pod at PHNX__rising. It's double the underscores.
I don't know what to say.
He's thinking about this one.
Double the vacations.
Yeah, simple. Double
I feel like we've already
vacations.
done that this
Oh,
season, though,
definitely
which in a
have,
short
but
period of time. is
We've
kind
done that probably 80% of episodes.
Yeah,
but
but
that's
not-
because Max misses that many percent of episodes on vacation.
It's true.
You're not wrong, Damon. You're not wrong. Remember, of course, we will be back next week on Tuesday, same time, same place. We will also have content and coverage from San Antonio, presuming, of course, this weekend's game goes ahead.
I hope you have refundable flights.
Flexibility is indeed something that's important. And thankfully, there's still a lot of flexibility in most bookings, so that's okay. That is okay. Double the preseasons.
Oh, no.
Hey,
Please,
if we have a
no.
lengthy work stoppage, who knows? Maybe. Remember.
Hopefully they play Las Vegas Lights and GCU. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Fingers
we'll
crossed.
see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, God.
It's a beautiful game, but it is way more beautiful when.
You don't have to watch preseason football. I'll say it again.
Well, hopefully we won't have to anymore. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.